All right, everyone, welcome back. We are here with our Founder Series on Rebel One Live, where we are highlighting different founders that are striving through through this crisis. So this is Pierre Laguerre. He is CEO of Fleeting, and he'll share more about his business, and he's going to share tips on what he's done, a little bit about his founder journey, and give you all advice from founders and investors listening on how do we strive through this crisis. So Pierre, I'll turn it off to you. No.
Hey, thank you, Sergio. Thank you, man. Hello, everyone. Hi. My name is Pierre Laguerre, founder and CEO of Fleeting. Give you guys a little bit of overview of what Fleeting is. We are a marketplace that help trucking companies find vetted CDL truck drivers to operate their trucks around the clock. Also helping truck drivers spend quality time with their loved one and make more money. A little bit more about my background, why does Fleeting exist? I've been in trucking for 16 years. I started as a Class A truck driver, went on and became an owner operator, then built a staffing agency to about 2.5 million in revenue just under 2 years, and then went on to build a trucking company, started with 3 trucks, and then grew that business to about 16 trucks in 6 months, and also 1.2 million in revenue in the first year. So having spent that 16 years in this space, I've realized several pain points when it comes to trucking, when it comes to drivers, when it comes to trucking companies. And that inspired us to really kind of, bring a solution to market. I've been affected by trucking. I was divorced because I was always on the road, never have time for my family. So we know there's millions of drivers that are going through those pains every day. And also, running my own trucking company, I remember those pain points of not having qualified drivers to move a load so I can improve my bottom line. So having spent that time in this space, seeing the pain points on all level and give us the ability to go out today to say, hey, look, let's bring a solution to the market that we think is desperately needed. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Thank you, Pierre. So can you share a little bit more for those that don't know? I think that, I think different people that are listening, they may know consumer focused apps, right? For you that may come to Fleeting, like who's the customer of Fleeting and what are they coming to you for?
Yes, thank you. Good question. So our customers are the Amazon, right? The Better Way, the Goya Foods, the Cisco Foods. I know everyone in here probably don't understand trucking, but we all consume something, right? We all buying stuff online. So when we put that order and when we order something on Amazon, it comes from every corner of the world. And believe it or not, guys, you need that truck driver to bring those packages to the distribution center so they can distribute them to the local houses. So even, the stuff that you buy at the supermarket, the food haulers, the companies that haul fuel, all those of our customers. So those companies, they have their own pain of finding drivers to move those goods across the country. And our model, pretty much our solution is we help these companies find drivers 24/7 to kind of keep moving these goods across the country to make sure consumers like you and I get our product on time. So pretty much we understand, as we can see now, trucking is a very pivotal role, and trucking play a very important role on our day-to-day lives. So that's the customers that we service. Our customers are the people that you're counting on to bring you your daily products.
Got it. And some people don't know when I was early in my career, I ended up working in a manufacturing plant, running run one of the lines for PepsiCo. I lived with the house I lived in he was a trucker. He was always on the road. Talked to me quite a bit about the experience. He owned his own truck. How are you? Can you talk a little bit about how you fit into the ecosystem and how did you even come up with the idea of Fleeting?
Yeah, man. I mean, being a truck driver for 16 years, I mean, it's a very demanding industry, right? You're always thinking about, how do you improve your life? How do you find ways to spend more quality time with your loved one? Especially if you're paying attention to how the world is moving today. Everyone is talking about gig economy. Everyone is talking about, hey, look, they want to own their own time. So being a driver, sometimes remember doing 30 days on the road and you're sleeping on the side of the road, you're not sleeping on your bed. On average, a truck driver spends 250 nights away from home. So that was one of the things that inspired me. Well, how can I start a business? How do I become an entrepreneur in this space to where I can have the ability to buy my time back? As we understand, time is one of the most important part in our lives. So I said, for me was, what is it that I can do to be into that entrepreneur seat? But asking to become an entrepreneur doesn't necessarily mean that you're ready for it, right? So for me, it was much more like putting myself out there, becoming an owner operator on my own rig, see all the pain points that I've went through. After seeing all the pain that I've went through as an owner operator, owning my truck, then that's when I think I saw the opportunity for us to create a solution. So that kind of gave me the confidence to say, hey, look, I've been in this space long enough. I'm a go-getter. I'm not a quitter. I like to really go for things that I believe in. And that kind of gave me the early mindset to say, hey, go out there and do it. I mean, when I went on and built my first trucking company, it wasn't easy. I felt at it horribly, but I kept pushing. So all those 15 years that I've been in trucking, I think the reason why I'm here today, I would say, is because I've been failing forward. I've been learning. And every time I fall, I just kind of, scratch myself off and dust it off and just keep pushing again. So that's the reason why I'm still here. And I think there's still going to be a lot more bruises along the way.
Yeah. Especially in this time, right, when the economy is somewhat seized, can you talk about how COVID-19 has impacted your business?
Yes, COVID-19, we've seen, I mean, there's a lot of impact in several ways we could look at it, right? We could look at the positive side of it, and we also can see the negative side of it. On a negative aspect, my heart goes out to all the medical workers, all the doctors, everyone in here as well. If they have a family suffering with this crisis, my heart goes out to you guys. Same thing for the truck drivers. We've seen them as well. Like, although we know this is very dangerous, these guys are going out there every day doing their best, not only to make sure that we have food, but also making sure that they provide food for their families as well. So the negative impact that we've seen in COVID is pretty much businesses are shutting down, like, right? A lot of people are losing their jobs. A lot of people, we don't have any answers on how this go. But the good thing, what I'm seeing where we could start seeing some positivity is, let's look how trucking is playing a very important role in this climate, right? Trucking is really kind of like one of the industry that's actually being able to provide goods. Now, if that stopped, then I think we all would be panicking, especially me. I'll be panicking as well. So for us, I think is the good positive that I'm seeing on the end of the spectrum, whether it's this 3 months, 6 months, we go down this line of this crisis. And I believe we are tough people in this country. We're going to get through it. I don't know how long it's going to take, but we are going to get through it. But the opportunity, the positive side is, if you look at trucking, the unemployment rate, how many people are losing their jobs now, and how many people that is short in trucking still have a shortage of 200,000 drivers. So the positivity that we have to see is, once this market open back up, trucking is going to be flooded with work. The opportunity for people to become entrepreneurs in transportation is going to be there. So I think the positive that I would say to people to look at, let's not only focus on the current climate that we are right now. Let's start really looking ahead. What is it that we can do to get ourselves ahead of this curve? And I think for us is being able to create a pipeline of showing individuals how they can get their CDL and work 3 days and make $1,200 a week. So I think trucking is going to be a very important part of our industry moving forward. A lot of people are going to become entrepreneurs in that space, and not just in trucking. I think in the next 3 months, America is going to see more entrepreneurs than they have seen in its entire life. So I think that's the good side of this coronavirus. I think it's forcing people to think how to become entrepreneurs. How do we bring more solution to our current world?
Got it. And yeah, no, that's great, especially so right now you have people that have their commercial driver's license, and you're connecting this community of drivers to opportunities to deliver goods, which that continues through the crisis, as we need food in our supermarkets and still need goods delivered. Right now, no one can, people can't get their CDL license currently, right? So is it a captive? Like how's the market for you, the community of drivers?
Yeah, I mean, the community is there. Like, I mean, every day we get people that come on our website and say, hey, man, I seen trucking is still moving. This is look like a promising industry. How do I get my CDL? I want to get my CDL. So we've seen a lot of interest of not only that we're targeting drivers that already have an existing CDL, but their existing drivers are coming up to us and say, my sister want to get a CDL. Can you help? Or my uncle want to get a CDL. Can you help? So I think drivers are seeing it also, that this is going to be a huge surge of driver demand. They're going to need more drivers. So I think for us is being able to kind of, how do we take you from having a regular license to educate you on how to get the CDL permit, to getting you to get to get the actual license and put you to a job. So all these things are in the process right now. Our team is working hard diligently every day to make sure those things are intact. We are getting a lot of interest, people that do want to become truckers. And for us, I think we want to be able to not just create a pipeline of showing them how to get the CDL, but also being a community that can educate them as well on what is the best thing to do, what is the best company you want to haul for, how do you kind of maximize your earning as being a trucker, how do you maximize, how can you make more money without working 7 days a week or being on the road for 30 days. Those, I think, is going to be where we're going to be able to add a lot of values to people that are coming into trucking, because we can show them how to make $1,100 just working 3 days, whatever those 3 days are. It could be Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. But I think the whole key is showing individuals how they can make $1,100 just working 3 days. I think that could have a huge impact on our economy as well.
Awesome. And can you share a little bit more? I know one of the common questions you get is, cars are going to drive themselves and trucks are going to drive themselves. So why do we need to connect drivers to trucks? And I know, in this time we want real people doing real things, but yeah, what do you see for the future of there's fleeting now and fleeting of the future? What do you see?
Yeah, man, that's a good question, Sergio. Thank you. I know everyone asks that question, like, hey, what's going on with autonomous? When autonomous comes, that's not going to take you out of business. And I always say, hey, look, let's be careful when we talk about autonomous, because that creates so many fears amongst drivers. People don't even understand. And the reality is we are some years away for autonomous to really take its hold, because in order for that to happen, our entire infrastructure needs to change, right? We have an issue right now with cars, so let's not even talk about trucks. But in order for that to work, the infrastructure has to be there. However, I do see something that can work early on, and what that is a model that they call platooning. And what they will do is they will get one driver to drive one truck, and they will have 5 trucks following behind with no drivers in it. So the first driver will be leading that whole platoon of trucks via Bluetooth. Now, I could see that happening from going from California to New York on a highway, simple process. But when it comes to the last mile, right, the autonomous truck cannot go into the last mile. So what I see is when that truck gets to a meeting point, they're going to need 5 drivers to jump in each truck to go do the final mile delivery. So even if autonomous was to come out today and say, hey, look, autonomous is a thing, with that approach, Fleet and still see ourselves being in the center to provide drivers, especially at those meeting points, to do the last mile deliveries. And just also, let me stress one last point on that, is one company that was actually leading the autonomous model just closed their doors. They sent out a great letter, explaining that, it was going to take a lot of money to solve this problem. And that was really doing good. That was the first company that actually had a truck on a highway with no drivers on it. But unfortunately, they had to close their business down. Number one, they aren't able to raise capital. It's very capital intensive to kind of solve this problem. And I think everyone is starting to shut their doors. And even one of the founders says, like, look, it's not that it can't be done, it's years away, but also the industry is looking at safety from a different lens. So I think there's just so many different things that we have to look at when we talk about autonomous. And even the insurance industry is still saying, well, okay, this sounds great, but who is going to insure this autonomous truck? No one have no answers for it. So I think we just have to be very careful when we talk about autonomous. Let's not create fears among truckers. Let's not create fears among the industry. We're still some years away, but whatever that first model platooning, even if that happened, they're still going to need drivers. What they're saying is, although they can have autonomous, but the need for a driver is always going to be there, because the driver reaction to a hazardous situation is a lot better than the computer will react, because that driver understands. So it's just so much that we have to think about when we talk about autonomous. A driver will still be needed, and that's years away. So to all the drivers out there, I would say this message: do not be afraid. Do not let autonomous stop you from becoming a trucker. Do not let autonomous stop you from buying your own rig if you want to become an owner operator, because that thing is still years away. And I think we have time to actually capitalize on trucking before autonomous happen, if it does get to happen.
Awesome. And I know I want to shift back to in this current climate, there have been plenty of challenges. You talked about them related to drivers going through state lines and potential changes in protocol. Can you describe some of the innovative things you all have worked through? I mean, it's already impressive that fleeting is, many businesses are not making any money during the crisis or having a tough time. You guys are making money and striving through, because it's an essential need to move goods. But can you talk about some of the challenges that you've had to work to continue to make that happen?
Oh yeah, man. I think challenges is always gonna be there, man. We've went through so many challenges. You have to understand that we working in the industry that operate in a very old school mentality, right? So for them to adapt to technology is very hard. So there's a lot of kind of like hand holding to get the customers to truly understand what it is that how to use our product. And not even that, truck drivers also, truckers that tell you, hey man, I don't like technology. I don't want nothing to do with technology. But they have an iPhone, right? But they have a technology in their hand. They're on Instagram, they're on Facebook, but they tell you that they don't use technology. So the challenges for us was, how do we build a product, right? That's very simple that the drivers can get, where it doesn't have to feel like, man, this thing is too hard. Like drivers don't want to feel like they're learning how to code to use a product. So I think for me, taking my experience as being a driver, being on the road, we always want things as simple as we can get them. So the challenges at first was, how do we build something that actually captures the driver's attention, that they can see that it's something that they can use every day. And we're going through our challenge every day. You have the age barrier is there. We have some drivers, average age between 25 to 34 years old, that easily get the product. And then you have the older drivers, and not to leave them behind, the 62, the 54-year-old driver that's like, hey, look, man, I don't understand how this product works. Like, how do I fill out an application? So those are the challenges that we had early on, bringing drivers onto the platform for them to truly understand how it worked. And what we were able to do was kind of create a community niche where we allow truckers to come in and ask questions, Q&A with me, really talk to them about the landscape, where trucking is going, because a lot of drivers, they do have a lot of questions because they feel like, they have been in the industry for so long and their voice haven't been heard. So for us is taking that approach and truly understand their world, truly understand their journey was very challenging at first. But once we understood the approach, what it is that we say to the driver, how do we approach the driver? How do we show the driver that we have empathy? We can relate to his pain. And once we started really taking that approach, things started really working out very well. And I guess this is why we're starting to see the growth that we're seeing now, because our approach is not always, is to never assume that we know what a driver want or we know what a trucking company want. And I think that was one of the biggest mistakes we made early on when we were trying to go to market. We was assuming that what the customers want. But once we kind of give them the system and kind of start taking the feedback from them, what is it that they want? What is it that they're looking for in fleeting? That's when we starting to build a better product that fit them on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah. And I know Pierre, very, known you for a bit. We've been working, working to get you support as you're moving forward, and very impressed with your hustle. I know you're humble, but I wanted you to share a little bit about, can you share a little bit more about you? Like, what keeps you motivated through this? I know you started, kind of like where you came from starting, and then I was up there with you at the Harvard Business School, at the African American Student Union conference. You were one of the new ventures that won top place. And support of that. So can you talk about like what keeps you motivated through some of these challenges, to keep going as a founder, even in the times of COVID?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, man. I didn't want to go too much into that, but what keeps me motivated, I think, is my own personal story, to be honest, and also my kids. If I didn't tell you, is I was born and raised in Haiti, right, which is a third world country where there is no opportunity. If we think this is bad here, listen, look, live in a third world country where there was no opportunity. And I had this dream of becoming a doctor when I was living in Haiti. And I wanted to become a neurologist. I wanted to go to Harvard. But when I got here, the picture that I had in mind for America wasn't exactly the same place that I landed. I landed pretty much in a rough neighborhood in Brooklyn at the time, 1998, where drug dealing was the norm, gang banging was the norm, murdering. The street was filled with drug addicts. And I went from dreaming of becoming a doctor to only dreaming of staying alive. So my way of trying to escape that community, because I didn't want to become a statistic, I didn't want to become a product of that environment. Trucking was was a way for me to get out. So I got my CDL, became a trucker. So kind of lived through that rough neighborhood, kind of also give me some tough skin as well to understand how to deal with challenges when things are tough. Just kind of, just stay focused and look at the bigger picture and do not focus on now. And to kind of go into a little bit more about my story is, I didn't tell you guys that I have a son that was born with Down syndrome in 2017, and he had to go through multiple heart surgery. So seeing your baby fighting at 3 months old with a open heart surgery was another. That was another time I gained some strength myself. And just the real part of the story, the real strength for me is while my son was in surgery, guys, being in Brooklyn again, I stopped at this restaurant to pick up some food for my mother to go see my son that night, and I got mugged, and I had my skull cracked, man. I had 67 staples in my head from left ear to right ear. Even my forehead that you're probably looking at is not my real skull here. It is a titanium plate. So kind of like went through that experience, damn near lost my life, and just being in the hospital, being in a coma, and then coming out the hospital, still being alive, still breathing, still being able to hear the birds chirping. That is what's giving me the attitude of saying, look, everything will work out itself, because I've been through worse. I've sat in the hospital bed where they was telling my mother that they probably need to start preparing my funeral arrangement and my son's funeral arrangement. And look, and I'm here today. So I want to tell everyone that's on this call, yes, this is a very unfortunate time that we're living in. There's going to be plenty more of that. People go through these things every day. Now we're seeing it on a larger scale because it's affecting the entire country. But people go through these challenges every day. People lose their job every day. People are struggling, trying to put food on the table every day. So for me, what keeps me going is my personal experience, seeing how my son is a fighter, seeing what I've went through, where I almost lost my life, and I'm still here today. So I just want to tell everyone, man, we can get through this. This is not the worst. If we're gonna fall, like I always say for me, is I always make sure that I fall on my back. If I fall on my back, I can always look up and pull myself up. Just make sure that we don't fall on our face. And if you fall on your face, then that's a different story. So for me, I think that those personal experiences, living in a rough neighborhood, seeing the drug dealing, the gang banging, and kind of grow out of it and becoming a trucker, escaping that community, then also getting hurt, getting mugged, almost lost my life, where, of course I was bitter while I was in the hospital. I wanted revenge. I wanted people to feel the pain that I was feeling, but I had a chance myself to really kind of, calm down and get to know who I am, get to know what my purpose is here. And I said to myself, if I go out there and retaliate and do anything stupid, here I am, I will lose my freedom. I lose the ability of being a father to my children, and I lose the ability of doing something great into this world. So I said, the best revenge you can have is success. And I just wanted to kind of remain positive and just look at the bigger picture, look at the opportunity that's afforded to me. And by the grace of God, I'm here, and I just want to do the right thing. And everyone else, man, look, regardless of how things may look sometimes, at the end of the day, we all have that one last swing. So I would encourage everyone to always throw that last punch before you throw in the towel.
Love it. Love it. So we'll end on that note. That was perfect. Thank you for all those listening. This was Pierre Laguerre, CEO of Fleeting. Thank you, Pierre, for joining us, and tune in. We'll be interviewing founders on the Founder Series every week on Thursdays at 10 a.m. So thanks again, Pierre, for joining us. It was an honor and a pleasure, and stay tuned.
Thank you, man. Really appreciate it. I had a wonderful time, man. This is some great stuff that you're doing here, Sergio. So keep doing it. Founders are looking up to you to keep bringing up those great solutions, man. I think this is a great community you built here. So thank you for that, man. Really appreciate that.
Of course, it's with your story. So appreciate